Ohio gozaimasu. Minasan, we got up this morning at 5:30 in the morning to do this video. This is a video that I just saw my buddy, the homeless fisherman, do, and I thought, I guess I haven't done one of these videos in like 4 years, so we're gonna go through my entire Swimbait collection, or at least a good majority of it. And so I'm gonna try and fly through this. Just a couple quick notes. If there's a certain lure that I go through pretty fast, I've normally made some type of video on most of the swim baits that you guys will see, so I'll leave like a link to every bait that I've done a video on in the previous past. So if you guys want to learn more about, you know, how I fish it, why I like to fish it, rod, reel, stuff like that, there's probably a video already out there. So let's just kind of get right into it. Now, when it comes down to storage for my swim baits, I found that these bait wraps work really well. Now, they obviously don't have to be the Swimbait underground wraps. I mean, there's tons and tons of wraps out there on the market. I just like the Swimbait underground ones. They're higher priced, but the quality of them is pretty good, and they just work for me. And of course, I really like Swimbait underground, if you guys couldn't tell. So the first wrap that I grabbed here, I think that these are my Hinkle trouts, and they are. Alright, so if you guys don't know, the Hinkle trout is my all-time favorite swim bait. I own 4 of these Hinkle trouts now. I've owned many more in the past. I just unfortunately break them off on fish or casting them off quite a bit. It becomes quite annoying. But if you guys know that the Hinkle trout is my all-time favorite swim bait, that's the only reason why I have multiples. And you're going to see that in a lot of my swim baits, that I find a swim bait that works really well with my own style of fishing. And I basically buy a lot of backups because I'm using these things. I go through them maybe once a season or so, the way that I'm going. The past 2 seasons, I've lost both the Hinkle trout on a fish. So having backups is definitely the way to go for my style of fishing. So if I do break one off, I have another one ready to go, and I'm not scrambling in the middle of the season to try and find some. So Hinkle trout, OG Hinkle trouts, really hard to come by, very expensive when I do find them, but my all-time favorite swim bait, and I've got to have backups of these. Now, kind of a newer player is this guy here. This is the Andrew Hinkle. This is the trick trout. This is that multi-piece one. Again, super hard to find or come by. I got this straight from Andrew, just like everybody else. I waited, I even forgot, maybe 2.5 years, almost 3 years of waiting just for this bait to come out after I bought it. And so this is a bait that I still don't know if I really like that much. I've thrown it a little bit last season, had some followers, but nothing really bit it. And I'm just not a huge multi-piece guy, but still trying to figure out when this bait will play in my own fishing style. Alright, moving on, we have my Tyrant 10 box here. You guys could see that in there. This is basically what I put all my Tyrants in. So, just a couple of different Tyrant riggings in there. Obviously, my favorite is the top hook bottom bouncing rig, where I've caught most of my fish on. And the Tyrant's just basically right now my go-to soft swim bait. It just works really well with my own style of fishing, and I love the size of it, the way that you can rig it. It's a really good bait. So I've got most of them rigged like this with the top hook there, but then I've got some to fish up on top. My fish out here in Arizona, they don't eat off the surface very often during the season. I don't know exactly why, but it's just weird. But every now and then I'll throw these like around docks or something like that, skip them under a dock. But I own quite a few of these Tyrant 10s at this point. I just absolutely love them. These things just get bit, and they're really fun to fish. I don't know if I should be showing this guy, but this is the 12-inch Tyrant. Quite a bit bigger, I'd say, than that 10-inch, but this 12-inch is a really badass bait. It's huge though. It's a pain in the ass to fish. And then in this smaller, this is the Go box. That or stuff like that, I guess, just happens. But in this one, I've kind of got my 8-inch Tyrants in here, kind of squished, and it's basically the same setup, where I've got a couple different ones that are rigged. So this is like the floating version here with the hook on the bottom, and then also have the top hook rig here. Last season, the Tyrant 8 was a pretty big staple. as you guys hopefully saw that video that I posted, caught a lot of fish on this bait in a wide variety of different ways, and it's kind of became like a little staple. I don't fish the 8-inch as much as I do the 10. I feel like the 10 gets me bigger bites, but just getting bites, the 8-inch is just snack size basically to the fish. All right, going back to big glide baits, I've got this really big pouch that the DRT Swimbait Underground collab, but what I've got in here is, you probably guessed it, I've got ghosts and I got frenzies in here. So currently at the moment I own 2 of these frenzies here. I've got the magic trout frenzy, which is super badass color, and then I've got like a prototype keep cast color. The only fish that I've ever caught on the frenzy came on this color. This color is pretty badass, dude. Just absolutely ridiculous glide baits. I mean, but I do want to catch more fish on them because I find them very fascinating, and I think there's possibility to trigger some of those bigger fish to eat this size of bait more frequently. And then in the realm of the ghosts, this was the first ever ghost that I bought. This is my favorite color. This is a Spectre color. The only fish I've ever caught on the ghost came on this color. You guys have maybe seen that cast to catch already, but this is another cool one. This is that wood mix. This is the 2019 keep cast color. I've been trying to find the Clash9 in this same colorway for so long, and when I do find one, they cost so much. It's absolutely ridiculous. I got lucky on this Clash Ghost, and I got it for basically retail, and it's a badass color. It's got the wood mix in there. It's a really cool color. So those are those 2, probably my favorite colors. And then I am an absolute sucker for this magic trout color. I think the magic trout color just absolutely goes hard. And then I've got the hookup tackle collab DRT. This is the sake bomber, which I know a lot of guys are kind of losing it over this one. Just a nice shad pattern, but just having both like solid ones, translucent ones, matte colors, shiny, like the ghost is a really cool bait. I definitely need to fish this bait more. Every time I fish it, I have a lot of fun fishing it, just because there's so many different ways you can fish it, and it just gets them to react and look at it quite different than like a K9. Speaking of the Clash9, I've got this bait wrap absolutely filled with Clash9s from different colors and stuff. So I've got colors ranging from that classic, this is that Spectator color, again, Spectre color, and then I've got obviously the hookup tackle collab one. I've got the this is the European Shiner one, really cool color, like a translucent one with some flash in there. This one's pretty badass. I've got the US Trout one. I've got a high float in this, I forgot the name of it, but it's like basically like a purple haze color. This one's really cool. And then I just got this one recently. This is the FL, the Fish Tackle Shop collab one. This one's like a clear water killer. Super good color. I love this one a lot. And then speaking of backups, I got another Spectre color. It's one of my all-time favorite colors. It's one of the first colors I ever got in a Clash9, and I caught an absolute shitload of fish on this color, and so I had to get a couple of these. And then a really cool one. This is the Tokyo Gold one from Village Door. I absolutely love Ryuta from Village Door. This was a gift actually from him, so super sentimental one here. And then that cool bass color one. This one's pretty badass. Just some other ones. I've got the Working Class Zero. This is the Joy Thief. Just one of the best bait fish patterns overall that could work really anywhere. Then that new SU Golden Shiner color. This one's pretty badass as well. And then finally, another classic for me is the Mystic Weed. The Mystic Weed is just, again, this was like my first Clearwater killer color, and I caught a lot of fish on the Mystic Weed. Kind of hard to find, but one of my all-time favorites. And then this is the Magic Trout here. This is the one that I basically used on my last trip to Japan solely. And this color is just really cool. Obviously, there's not rainbow trout in Lake Biwa, but the color just works. And again, color doesn't really matter that much. It's just, I think this color is badass myself, and it really just comes down to action and profile and stuff like that. But getting the colors that I really like kind of just fuels the fire on getting the swim bait. So I have a lot of Clash9s. I think I own more Clash9s as a single lure than basically maybe any of the other swim baits that we're going to talk about today. It might be a close one between like Tyrant 10s, and maybe the next one we talk about. All right, and then the next bait wrap we got here is one of my all-time favorite swim baits. Again, I made multiple videos on this bait before, and that is, of course, the Deps 250 bait wrap. For right now, this is the only new style that I have. This is that classic bone air color, one of my favorite colors in a 250. I did some modifications to how it sinks, and absolutely love this bait. The color on this one that we did with the hookup tackle is pretty much money. I've got a lot of fish on this color. White just really gets bit in a lot of places, so that's a classic one. But then you start getting into the real ones, the OG ones, this like the Biwa Masus. This is a really cool color one. This is an absolute staple for a lot of guys. One that I've caught a lot of fish on, this is the Bluegill color one. This one's really badass. And then this is the Butch Brown Bass. I think Deps absolutely nailed colors all those years ago. I mean, these colors still look really good even in today's time. Like the foil, the flash, like everything about it just looks so fucking cool. And then probably the most universal color, this is the Flash Carp. I own 2 of these. I've had more in the past, but these are probably the easiest colors to find, the Flash Carps. But absolutely universally catch fish anywhere and everywhere in the world on this color, and just gets bit. So gotta have at least 2 of those. I've got 2 trout ones. This one's kind of like a repainted, like custom trout one. Don't really know exactly the original, but the dots, the yellow, like was added on there. But I actually really like this trout color one. It's just the Psycho color. This one's all-time classic as well. If you're old school swim bait guy, like, you know, the Psycho's basically the hard to get one. So okay, in the next bait wrap, we've got some of the big glide stuff. We're talking, you got the KGB. This is the King. I was able to play with this guy last year out on my lake. I got quite a few bites, but I just couldn't land the fish. So I've been kind of experimenting with different hooks. If you guys know me, like, I love fishing smaller hooks. So just trying to figure out how I'm gonna be hooking fish. I've watched several good 6-7 pound fish come up and headshot the bait, but unfortunately just not get hooked. So I've been kind of playing around with this bait, but I absolutely love the swim on it. The profile matches a gizzard shad super well, and it's just a really big bait. And then this last trout season, I was trying to find like a Hinkle trout replacement if I can never find another Hinkle and I lose all of them. And then I found this guy. This is the Hoog. This is the 11.5 inch, and it swims really good. It's not this exact same as a Hinkle, but I was able to catch some fish on this bait last season. I even dumped a really big one on it. So it has the same drawing power as a Hinkle. You can find these a lot cheaper, obviously, than a Hinkle trout. And Hoog, the guy who makes these, he has these on his website quite frequently. So you're kind of able to pick these up a lot easier than you would say like a Hinkle trout. And Hoog's a pretty cool guy, and I've kind of gone back and forth with him on the bait. So he's kind of helped me fine tune like some of these baits, and really cool guy who makes a really good, solid, clean looking lure. And then one everybody already knows, this is the, of course, Roman made Mother. I own 2 of them. I own this white snake one that I've had since, I want to say 2016. I've caught a couple of fish on this one, and then just recently I did a video of me going out and fishing with this guy, and I caught a bass on one of my local lakes with this one during the middle of summer. So I love the Mother. It's a really iconic swim bait to me. I just think that it's a really cool swim bait. It's one of those swim baits that, you know, growing up as a kid, when I first started getting into it, when I heard about the Mother and like how big it was, the drawing power, I was really hooked on it. And so once I was able to finally get one and I was able to catch a fish fairly fast on it, it was like, oh yeah, this is a Mother. Of course I'm gonna catch fish on it. Like, it's just such an iconic swim bait. So own 2 of them. We'll probably own many more in the future someday. And then in this bait wrap, we've got some hog hunters in here. I currently own 2 magnums at this point. I used to own a lot more, but I've either given them away to some of the Japanese bros or some of the homies here. But these are the last 2 that I own. I believe this is the hatchery trout color one, and then this is the cutthroat color, I believe. And I'm a big fan of Hog Hunter. They've made some, like, the Magnum is one of the greatest swim baits of all time. They used to be called Baitsmith, and the Magnum just catches giant bass, and it always has, and it always will. There are some flaws with the bait that the Tyrant kind of picks up, so I kind of go back and forth between the two soft baits, but with both of these, I kind of know that I have full confidence that when it's trout season, I've got a soft swim bait to fish down on the bottom that is going to get me some bites. And obviously, the realism on the Hog Hunter is just unbeatable. Beautiful, beautiful baits, and they just get bit. And my first ever double digit came on a Magnum, so shout out to Hog Hunter, makes incredible baits. They also make the Mag X, the lesser known Magnum that they make. It is, I think, 11 inches long, so quite a bit bigger than the original Magnum, as you guys can see. This thing is an absolute unit. I've fished this bait maybe once or twice ever, and I just don't know when or where it's gonna work for me. I think that 9-10 inch size works better than that 11 or 12 inch size, but I do know guys that have gone up to this size, and they say that they've seen just bigger and better quality fish, just because most guys are going to fish this size, but nobody's really fishing this on a consistent basis. So those bigger bass might just know that, like, at this size, it's probably the real thing, because every time one of our other brothers get caught, or if I get captured, it's on a size of this. Obviously, probably overthinking all this, but that's just kind of how I think about it in my own mind. Is if you go up to that bigger size that most guys aren't fishing, you might run into that bigger caliber of fish. All right, on to the next bait wrap. Okay, the first one out of there, we have the 86. This is the Andromeda in the mud shad color. I've had this thing for quite a while now. For some reason, I haven't caught any fish on it, but I think this is the perfect size. It's in that 9.5 inches, so it's not too big like that King, but absolutely love the profile. I've been friends with Ham now for many years now, and he makes a really, really good bait. One that you guys probably know that he makes is like the Doom Rider and the Tempest and some of the other new ones that he's been making. Great guy, makes a great looking lure as well. So that is the Andromeda. And then for some of my like 9-inch, more like trout Pacific profiles, I've got this Hoog here. This is a 9.5 inch Hoog. Swims very similar to the 11.5 inch version, which absolutely love this thing. It looks really, really good. Clean lure, just like the 11.5 inch one. And then I just picked up this guy. This is the Sly Guy. This is the 9-inch replica trout. So kind of with both of these, if I go to a body of water that's like the trout, or maybe a little bit on the smaller size, or the bass in that lake or on the smaller size, where I don't think I can catch that like 8, 9, 10 plus, but there's a lot of that 4 to 6 pound. This is when I take a bait like this up there, just downsize, match the hatch a little bit more, be a little more applicable or bite sized to some of those smaller grade fish, especially when I go up in the North Mountains where we have trout fed lakes. Like those fish, they don't get super big, but a lot of that 4 to 6, and they absolutely love this size. So cool baits. Excited to fish some of these guys, especially this upcoming season, and maybe even going into this fall when I go up north and fish something like this. And then a lure that I don't fish that often, but is an absolute staple, the Black Dog baits, is the Lunker Punker. I've tried fishing the punker in the past. I've had a lot of bites on it, but I've missed so many fish on the punker, where they either jump over the bait, or you know, it goes this way and then they go this way. Like, I've had a lot of misses. I think I've caught more muskie and pike on this than I have bass, which is wild to even say. But the Lunker Punker, one of the best, you know, big topwater walking baits ever made. It's been around for 20 plus years now at this point, and it'll still be catching a lot of big fish for everybody. Then one that I picked up on this last trip to Japan from the man himself, Okuda Manabu. This is the bigger armor joint. This is the 280 size. This is that bait that kind of like collapses when you cast it like this. And you're supposed to be able to cast this further than really any other swim bait, because it doesn't kind of catch the wind and it does the old helicopter through the air. So you're able to just cast this bait a lot further. There's a lot of cool features on it. Hopefully when I go back to Japan, I can do a video with Okuda Manabu where he kind of breaks this bait down and we have just a better understanding of this bait. But I like the size of this one. They make that 190 size, but I like the size. Unfortunately, what I don't like is that it's got rattles in it. I'm not a huge fan of rattles, especially when you start getting into size of baits like this, the bait is going to have enough drawing power because of its size. So I don't think the rattle's necessary, and I feel like it could be off-putting to some of those bigger fish. So maybe I could talk to Okuda and tell him to get rid of those rattles. All right, moving on, we've got another little red bait wrap here. All right, so that wrap is kind of all over the place on different types of lures. I've got a lot of my like little bluegill baits in there. This is that Tempest from 86 Baits. Really cute little perfect snack size bluegill glide bait. This one's a really cool one. I haven't fished this one much. I'm not a huge bluegill swimbait fan, but this one's really cool that Matt makes. A classic one. This is the Wade Hogs from Toxic Baits. Absolute classic. It's just got that very unique sound. A lot of guys catch a lot of giant bass on this bait, so a couple bluegill ones there. One that I've kind of fished in the past, and that's the Deps. This is the 160 size. Absolutely love this bait. This bait's been around for so long now. I've got quite a few fish on this one. It's probably my best producing bluegill glide, but really the one that I put most of my time in. And then this is a phony one that I got at the Texas gathering from last year. This one's really cool. Swims really good. A nice good profile to it. It's got a super slow sink action to it. So another beautiful bluegill bait. So I got a few bluegill baits in this one. Speaking of 86 and Doom Riders from earlier, these are the Doom Riders that I carry. This is that threadfin color one. I've caught a couple of fish on this one, and then that golden shiner one too. Both of these guys super small, as you could tell. They're 7 inches long, but they absolutely get bit. They swim really good. So if you're looking for a really good 7-inch glide bait, the Doom Rider is just my absolute go-to when I really want that smaller, more lifelike profile to like a gizzard shad or a big threadfin. This is the bait that I'm going to be picking up. This one's seen some fish. And then I've got a couple multi-piece baits. This is the Gancraft. This is the Shift. I've fished this one a couple of times. I'm not a huge fan of it. I tried to get it to glide, and sometimes it doesn't want to glide. Sometimes I'm able to get it to have a nice swimming action, but then when I try and glide it, it doesn't really work that well, or it's very finicky, or it's really light movements. But I like the idea there that you can glide it, but then if you get a follower, you can burn it away from it and they eat it. Another one that I got from Hot Takuma that you guys saw in a previous video from like a month or two ago was this is the Dow Swimmer. This is the 240 version, slightly a bit different than that 220 version that Jackal makes. This one's a really cool one. This is the one that he mainly fishes, where it's basically just cast, wind it, burn it, and do the 8 trap. Just did a video with him that was really fun to make. So this is a really cool bait. This is basically the bait that kind of put him on the map when it came down to, you know, bigger grade swim baits, and he's an absolute hammer with this one. So I was very thankful for him to give me one of his ones. And then I got a couple of these cool Imakatsu. These are replicators, multi-jointed with a bill. You can dead walk, you can crank it down. There's a couple different ways you can rig it. You can even rig it on the side. I just thought the colors on this thing were really badass. This bass one's so cool. Like, Imakatsu makes some really good, cool looking baits. Just Imakatsu just isn't popular. So really cool. I think I just picked these up because I thought how cool they looked, and the action on them is actually pretty good. All right, in this go box, we basically have a lot of my Tiny Clash stuff. Too much, I guess, of my Tiny Clash stuff. But yeah, I've got Tiny Clashes from like the Joy Thief, Pro Blue, another one of those European shiners here, and then the one that I caught my biggest Tiny Clash fish on. This is that New Moon Bite, that dark one that I caught 8-pound, 10-ounce fish on wintertime, nighttime fishing in Southern California. So I've got a handful of these guys. I've got the SU color one. I've got a brand new Spectre color. As you guys could tell, I've got the Spectre basically in every size lure that they make. And a brand new Mystic Weed in the package. This was my very first Tiny Clash color. The one that I had, I probably caught over 100 plus fish on, and I ended up losing it, I think, last year, which made me kind of sad, but that thing was absolutely beat. But it had a lot of mojo to it, and so I just kind of had to pick up another one. And then two pretty rare ones, I think. These are baits from Japan made by a guy named Kasano. These are Kasanos. These are really beautiful, gorgeous, handmade wooden swim baits out of Japan. Really hard to find, and he kind of doesn't sell to Americans very often. So I kind of had to buy these on the second market for quite a high price. But basically, this is a wintertime classic on Lake Biwa when they're feeding on the Wakasagi. And it's basically a Yotamaki style where it's just got this wobble and roll. And I got 2 of these just because they kind of came as a package deal, but really, really beautiful, intricate baits. I mean, these things are so sick. That Japanese craftsmanship. I've caught a fish on this one before in the middle of winter, even out here, just slow creeping it, ticking bottom, and then thunk. So gets bit. Really, really cool bait. I definitely want to fish Lake Biwa with these in the middle of winter someday. So then I've got a couple of like these small like miscellaneous ones where there's basically like 1 or 2 baits in these. In this one I have a Silent Killer 250 in that golden shiner color, which I've weighted this one to be like a heavy sink so I could fish this down in deeper waters and basically just make it act like a crankbait down there. Kind of risky, but I've put some of these smaller hooks on there, so if I do snag the bottom, I can hopefully bend out the hooks. But Silent Killer, it's one that not a lot of guys fish with, but I think it could be an absolute staple in somebody's arsenal somewhere. And then in this one, we just have the Swimbait Underground and Gancraft collabs. This is the 230 size golden shiner and Gancraft collab. They made the 303, the 230, the 178 size, and these things look really, really good. I'm a huge fan of the Gancrafts myself. I've caught a lot of fish on that 178 size, and seeing them in that golden shiner color is just absolutely sick. So I got a couple of these in different sink rates, and then these are the 178 versions here. A little smaller size. This is the main size that I fish, and it's kind of been one of my like summertime classics. You can fish them fast, you can fish them slow, and they've got just a super erratic action, and they get absolutely crushed by summertime bass. So in that golden shiner color, can't beat it. Super sick color. And then one that I literally just picked up that just came in the mail is this guy. I've owned multiple triple trouts in the past before, and I just saw this one on the website, and I just thought to myself like, oh crap, I don't have a triple trout at the moment. So bought this one straight from Scott over there at 22nd Century Baits. The triple trout is an absolute classic. I've caught a lot of fish on the 8-inch version. My buddy's caught a lot on the 10-inch version. It's just one of those baits that kind of got me into throwing bigger swim baits. So it's really cool to see that he still makes them, and beautiful bait still. So just got that one in. And then in this giant tub, I've got a bunch of miscellaneous like soft swim baits. So like I got an 8-inch weedless, basically black and like glitter Huddleston Deluxe right there. I've got a DRT clone in here in the bass color. I just bought this one actually off the shelf when I was in Japan last time, and I was like, oh, they actually just have these on the shelf. Cool. So I picked up one of these guys. And then I've got a Signal. This is the carp head. This was another gift from Okuda Manabu when we met him the last time and fished with them. This thing's got a crazy kick on it. Gotta have some staples in there. Rising Sun, top hook version, as well as the bottom. I've even got like the smaller 5-inch one. Classic bait. You gotta have these in the arsenal. So, Rising Sun. And then I've got more Signal stuff. This is basically another version of the carp head. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. Seeing it in person when I was fishing with Manabu, it's just an absolutely ridiculous giant swim bait. It looks really good in the water once you get it going though. And then I got some more carp heads as well. This is a gift. The trout one was a gift from Manabu as well. This one was actually in the hookup tackle, so I just bought one quite a while ago. One of my favorite soft swim baits that's super underrated, and that's the Rago soft tool. I actually have caught a couple fish on the tool. It's a very unique swim bait. I mean, it's definitely not your everyday swim bait. It's 11 inches long, and you basically fish it kind of like a crankbait. Basically, you don't have to fish the bottom. You can kind of fish it in the middle of the water column, but I used to fish mine on the bottom, and I got a couple bites doing it that way. So really cool bait, very unique. Not a lot of guys are obviously making this style of bait anymore because of the size and the practicality on it. And then I've got some OG battle shads here that the noses are blown out, and I've been kind of just too lazy to fix them, but
OG battle shads, HUD 68, like a bunch of miscellaneous stuff is in that box. All right, and then in this bait pouch thing, I've got a lot of Megabass stuff in this one, from like 8-inch mag drafts. I've got a Garuda here. I've got a lot of these basically in here. I've got Mad Draft Freestyles up the ass in here. Got random Gorhams in here. I've got the Hasu Raver as well. And then in this other one that we got here, basically that is my like Citizen and Battle Shad pouch, where I've got like these 9-inch Cokehead Citizen 9 inches. I've got 7-inch Citizens. Some OG Battle Shad 9s even in there. A few Battle Shad 9.0s as well in there. So just basically anything that's not a Tyrant from working last year, from the Battle Shads, Citizens, 7.5s, 9.0s, like all that stuff basically is in here as well. In this bait pouch, I've got some other random stuff too. We're talking like OSP Karens here. I've got a couple of the flags, so like the flag 150, the flag 170. I have a flag 255, but it's at the apartment. Spro custom color Chad Shads. Bait that we didn't talk about earlier, some Jokers in the Golden Shiner, as well as that Sake Bomber color. All right, and the very last bait wrap, it's been a very long video, is this old I Surrender one that I've got, that I just have a lot of random swim baits in here, swim baits that I don't necessarily use a lot. So I've got some OG Ragos here. This is a Rago Smoothie up here, and then this is a Rago Hard Tool. Just some OG stuff from Rago baits. I think it's really badass how like cool these OG baits are. Like these are basically staples and classics of olden times. This was a gift from my buddy Manny Chi a long time ago. This is a Nizuma rat. He used to be one of the best Nizuma rat fishermen in the world, and he ended up actually breaking this one. He repaired it, and he gave it to me as a gift quite a long time ago. So it's been kind of just sitting in there. I don't fish it just out of the sentimental value, but maybe one day I'll actually do a video on the Nizuma. It's a classic swim bait. And then I've got some customs that my buddy makes. These are like multi-piece baits. He's got a lot of fish on his own baits. I'm actually about to go see him soon and hopefully hang out again. It's my old friend that I used to fish the lakes on 9 years ago out of a 10-foot John boat. So he makes some really cool multi-piece baits. They work basically kind of like a triple trout version, to where you can burn it, you could rip it, you could pause it. Like, it's a cool bait. His paint jobs look really good. This is my favorite one that he's ever done, this bass. It's got like some hologram flake in there. Really cool bait. I've got some of these Swim Bait Underground, the D3Rs. Really cool wake bait slash crank down. Used to catch a lot of fish on these like a couple years ago when they first kind of dropped, and I went out to Southern California and fished with my buddy Chris Purcell. He caught a lot of big ones on it. I caught a couple small ones on it, kind of the classic whenever I go out and fish with them. But I got a couple of these OG Deps 175s in that kind of like bloody flash carp color. Really cool bait. Basically unused besides me missing the eyeball on it. I got this while I was in Japan as well. This is the BGC. This is his Gen 3 trout, I want to say. Kind of got this at like a garage sale. Really cool bait. I got it for pretty cheap, so I just picked it up. I knew it was a good bait, so grab one of those. This is a Fish Everything. This is a 7-inch shad. Really cool looking bait. It's got a really good swim to it. I like that you can change the sink rate because there's holes in there that you can put nail weights in. So Victor over there made a pretty solid bait. And then I've got some Roman made stuff that I actually fished. I've got this tricked lipped Roman made that I've caught some fish on. Got a negotiator, again I've caught some fish on it, and then a Roman made south. So I do have some of those other smaller Roman made stuff, not just like the mothers. These all get bit. They're all iconic swim baits, and I absolutely love this negotiator. It's one of those swim baits that I also got when I was first starting out swim bait fishing, and I caught quite a few urban bass on the negotiator, and so it kind of became a classic 7-inch glide bait for me in my own arsenal. And then last but not least, a Gancraft. We end on a Gancraft. Who would have seen that coming? Gancraft 178 in my all-time favorite color. I've probably caught over 30 fish on this one Gancraft. I absolutely love this bait. It's a really, really unique 7-inch glide bait. Not a lot of guys are fishing with this bait. I might do a video in the future on this Gancraft where I kind of go over the history of them and why I think this is such a really underrated glide bait. But Gancraft 178, last swim bait. All right, and so that's basically the last swim bait that I have, at least in the garage. I've got some other stuff in the apartment that I probably won't show because it's kind of a lot of the same stuff, just a lot of backups or just retired baits. But that's kind of the main bulk of the swim baits that I have in my collection or arsenal, whatever you want to call it. In no means is this a flex on anybody or anything like that. I've just basically all my disposable income comes to bass fishing, whether it's me buying lures or buying stuff for the boat or rods, reels, and stuff like that. Like, I'm absolutely obsessed when it comes down to swim baits. I mean, a lot of these swim baits, do I need them? No, I just see them sometimes for really good prices and I just say, yeah, it'd be cool to have one of these because I'm just pretty much addicted to throwing swim baits and I just love everything about swim baits. And so if I can buy some, I'll just pick them up. That's kind of just how the addiction is like some guys just absolutely splurge out on swim baits and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. For me, a lot of this stuff is either, you know, gifts that I don't really use and I can't kind of get rid of because they're gifts, or it's a lot of stuff that I need backups on just in case I get on a really good bite on a bait. That's why I own 4 Hinkle trouts and so many K9s and so many 250s. Like, it's a lot of swim baits, but a lot of them are like kind of the same bait, just in different colors or actions and stuff like that. Just because I found confidence in these swim baits that I know will work for me time and time again, I just pick up the same ones over and over again just because I have so much confidence in them. But enough rambling. I'm going back to bed because that took a little bit longer. That took like an hour or so to film. I don't know how it's going to be in post, but thank you guys ever so much for watching. Let me know what your guys' favorite swim bait is down in the comment section below. And other than that, chase your dreams and Johnny.